ALDS and scheduled programming will resume here on TNT. We're going to take a break and then send you to Boston.
The MLB Division Series on TBS is brought to you by refreshingly smooth Bud Light, always worth it. By Sharp Aquos, the official HDTV of Major League Baseball. Bring the details home. By AIG, for insurance, investments, retirement. AIG, the strength to be there. And by Sonic, it's not just good, it's Sonic good.
Welcome to the American League Division Series on TBS, presented by Budweiser, the official beer of baseball. It's October baseball at Fenway Park in Boston on a June night in the 70s, believe it or not, as we get set for first pitch at Fenway between the Los Angeles Angels and the Boston Red Sox. And we welcome you. It's been a long wait here in New England for Game 2. It's finally here with Steve Stone and Jose Mota. Ted Robinson. Eyes tonight really are on Daisuke, his first postseason start.
This is the first time the Angels are going to look at Matsuzaka, and usually that's the advantage of the pitcher. We'll see if that holds up tonight. This is a game that the Angels desperately need.
And this is the lineup the Angels will field tonight in Game 2 as they hope to get home with a split. Couple of changes. Sean Figgins will start in center field. Then Orlando Cabrera at short. And Vladimir Guerrero plays right field for the first time in a month. Garrett Anderson, the cleanup hitter. Mycera Sturis at third. Casey Kochman at first. Kendry Morales, the bat that Mike Scioscia wanted to add to the lineup. He'll be the DH. Howie Kendrick at second. And Jeff Mathis is the catcher.
There's a look at Daisuke Matsuzaka. 15 games, he lost 12. The ERA a little higher than he would like. He had a good ERA the first half. He had an ERA up over 5 in the second half, and they moved him back a couple of times because of shoulder fatigue. But again, the first look that he's having at the Angel hitters, I would expect that it would be advantage Daisuke.
All right, Steve, let's take a look at how you put together a scouting report on Matsuzaka.
He's got a hard slider. He has 2 different types of splitters, and his fastball, he pitches comfortably between 91 and 93, although he can get it up there 96, but he usually saves that for the real tough situations.
And could probably throw, what, 9 pitches if he wanted to?
Well, what they try to do is to keep him to about 4 or 5 to make sure he has control. And that's what he needs tonight, because if you let the speed merchants on base, they're going to try to run. That's the Angels' game, try to run you out of the ballpark. And Wednesday night, they had no chance to do it against Beckett.
Now, the Boston Red Sox led the American League in pitching this year, and they were second in the American League in defense. How often have we said that formula about the Red Sox? Pitching and defense. Yes, that's what they featured in the outfield. Once again, Ramirez, Crisp, and Drew. The infield features Gold Glove third baseman Mike Lowell, and the new double play combo this year of Lugo and Pedroia. Another Gold Glover behind the plate, Jason Varitek, has bonded beautifully with Matsuzaka in Daisuke's first year in the States. So these teams had an off day yesterday. Been a rare week. Those normal baseball rhythms every day with that occasional day off have been off this week. And what the Angels want, they were the best home team in baseball this year. They want to get back to Anaheim and their great crowd with a split. Sean Figgins leads it off.
The scouting report obviously said if Figgins is going to bunt, he's going to push it to third, because you've got Lowell in at the cut of the grass at third, but Youkilis is back at first. So apparently Figgins does not drag it if he does indeed try to bunt it.
Slow, deliberate windup. And Figgins takes a ball. Now, Figgins had a good game at the plate Wednesday night. He had a hit in the first inning and 2 other line drive outs where he was robbed in the outfield. A good sign for the Angels that he swung well.
It's hard to believe that it's 79 degrees at game time.
And Figgins fouls away the fastball 1-2.
One of the things they'd like to do is to work deep into the counts and get the pitch count up for Matsuzaka. And Matsuzaka would love to keep Figgins off base. He's swiped 41 bases, and at the top, Figgins and Cabrera combined have stole 61, and that's the Angels' game.
So the switch hitting Figgins trying to get on. Orlando Cabrera next. And he fights it off. Now let me ask you this, Steve, and a lot of folks know the story of Matsuzaka and his iron arm in Japan. What is a high pitch count for Daisuke? Like 200? 220?
Well, I would think he'd probably easily be able to go into the 120s, but the difference is that because it was a longer year this year and he suffered from some shoulder fatigue, toward the end of September they started giving him 3 and 4 extra days of rest. We'll see how that affects him here tonight.
All fastballs in this at bat. Ramirez near the line, and Ramirez just runs out of room as that ball tails into the seats, and Figgins stays in there.
Well, he's doing exactly what the leadoff hitter has to do, and that's spoil the good pitches. The pitch count high this year for Matsuzaka is 130, and what they'd like to do is get him close to that 100 mark, maybe through the 5th inning, because the one thing they'd like to do is get into the Red Sox bullpen a little earlier than you can set it up late with Papelbon.
So Sean Figgins, and there's the first off-speed pitch, and it gets Figgins. And the Angels were struck out 8 times by Beckett Wednesday. Tonight, Dan Iasonia calls balls and strikes. Brian Runge, Ted Barrett, and Tim Cheetah on the bases. On the foul lines, it'll be C.B. Buckner in left and Gary Darling in right. A beautiful night. Just can't get over this unusual weather at Fenway Park, and won't feel all that much different when these teams head west in Game 3, which will be in Anaheim Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Notice that Orlando Cabrera, both Wednesday night and here in his first at-bat tonight, not getting the response he had been getting the first few years as an Angel. Of course, he was the shortstop for the World Series winners here in '04.
Cabrera did come here in a 4-team deal that sent longtime Boston favorite Nomar Garciaparra to the Cubs. After Cabrera, it was kind of a revolving door, but now they've got Lugo at shortstop. They signed him to a 4-year deal, and they're pretty happy with that acquisition.
And there's a tight breaking ball for a strike, 2-1. And the story here in Boston, second half of the year, and Terry Francona, the manager of the Red Sox, and John Farrell, pitching coach, both before the game told us the same thing, that Daisuke can't get fastball happy. He's got to mix in the other pitches. Be back out of play. So on 2-0, Stoney, he threw him that tight breaking ball to get a strike.
And then he threw the fastball. And I talked with Brad Mills. He's the bench coach, and I asked him if they give signals to the guys at the corners if they're going to throw a breaking ball. And I was taking a look at Mike Lowell on the 2-0 pitch, and he actually moved toward the line. And that told me that there was going to be some sort of breaking ball coming. There's a look at Brad Mills, the fine bench coach for Terry Francona.
2-2. And Daisuke got it up to 95 there, but missed the outside.
Well, he's going to stay away from Cabrera. Cabrera's a good enough hitter to take the ball to right and right center field. Coco Crisp is playing a couple of steps into right center field, anticipating the ball out in that area.
And Cabrera fouls it away with Vladimir Guerrero waiting. So the one early statement here, at least the first 2 Angel batters have been able to work counts.
And also, the more you make the pitcher work, especially early, the more of his pitches you're going to see, and the better feel you have for him. And that's the job of Figgins and Cabrera. Try to make Matsuzaka show you just what he has on this given night.
And that's the other Angel hitters have got to be appreciative of this, because they're getting a nice chance to watch him, to watch his windup.
In the locker room before the game, you were watching the Angel hitters go over tape and they were watching Matsuzaka and his tendencies against the right and the left-hand hitters, how the curveball or slider moved. They were looking how the changeup moved and the splitter, but you can't really tell until you get up there.
There's Garrett Anderson with that right eye still swollen, and that's just low. So a nice job by Orlando Cabrera. Works out a walk, something the Angels never did against Beckett in Game 1.
This one just misses the bottom part of the strike zone, and that looked like it got it, but Dan Iasonia said no. So Cabrera, who swiped 20 bases, has only been thrown out 4 times, and the Angels second in the American League with 139 steals, and they figured to be testing the combination of Matsuzaka and Veritek. Even with Guerrero up, I wouldn't be surprised if they ran fairly early in the count.
So Vladimir Guerrero had 2 singles off Beckett in his last 2 at-bats, and a wild swing and a miss. And that's got Vladimir shaking himself.
Looked to me like Vladdy decided that he was going to swing if that ball stayed in the ballpark. And it certainly did. It was about 1.5 feet outside, and Guerrero said he's got a simple game plan. He's going to swing hard in case he just happens to run into something.
Well, he got one there, a fastball, and he fouls it 0-2. Now Guerrero had the 2 singles on Wednesday night in Game 1. In his career with the Angels, the only times he's been in postseason play, he has 1 extra base hit, period. And that was a grand slam in this ballpark.
This is a good pitch to run. There are some managers that'll call a pitch out 0-2 because you expect to see something out of the strike zone.
And Guerrero stays alive. But as the focal point, I mean, he is the offensive force in the Angels lineup. And at some point, Guerrero with just 8 hits rather in his postseason career, that's what they'll need. They'll need him to deliver.
Well, Guerrero is the one right-handed power hitter in this lineup. Anderson did not have a great power year, but he had a great last month and a half.
Now what, Stoney, is that a tip with Veritek? And he did this a little bit Wednesday night too. He gets upright.
What he wants is a fastball up and out of the strike zone. He wants to make sure that Matsuzaka, number 1, doesn't throw a strike, and number 2, calls a pitch that they call higher than high, up out of the zone. Now he wanted it face high. He didn't want it that far outside because there was no chance at all that Guerrero would swing at.
Would that move be tipped to the hitter at all?
He doesn't have enough time to look back.
And if someone else on his team might say something?
Not much you can say at that point. You're concentrating on trying to pick up the release point from a pitcher you've never seen before.
And Guerrero types another foul, so the one element in this top of the first for the Angels is making Matsuzaka throw pitches.
Well, so far Cabrera hasn't even attempted to try a steal. He only tried 1 time to get a small break at first base. He's not reading the move of Matsuzaka, and when you haven't seen a pitcher, what you're trying to do is get what's called a one-way lead, a little longer lead than you'd normally get, with the idea that the only place you're going to go is back to first. You want to force him into showing you his best move. And maybe that's what he's talking about with Alfredo Griffin right now. Alfredo, a great first base coach. Some say he would make a terrific manager, but so far he loves Anaheim. And this is one of the smartest men around, especially about base running and infield play.
Cabrera has always been a good percentage base dealer. 20 successful this year, only 4 caught. Fouled. Youkilis gonna have room right at the edge of the seats. So 2 down in the top of the first after a long battle. Guerrero fouls out. And a reminder that live MLB postseason Spanish language commentary is available using the SAP function on your remote.
Garrett Anderson has had eye problems. You see a little swelling in the right eye. Looks almost like a boxer in about the 8th round. However, he says that he has no vision problems whatsoever. It's tough enough to hit with 2 good eyes, let alone if one is partially closed.
Garrett Anderson, who had 65 runs batted in after the All-Star break. The senior member of this team, the man that made so much difference in the second half, being the force behind Guerrero. And he's always hit well here. He has a .311 career batting average at Fenway Park.
He can drive the ball to left center with the best of them. Manny Ramirez is playing his usual shallow left field.
Anderson came to the ballpark Wednesday with, the medical term is conjunctivitis. A lot of us always just termed it pink eye, but it's an infection that landed in that right eye, and you see the swelling from it. To Mike Scioscia, it's been very simple. Anderson says there's no problem with his vision. If he tells me that, then he plays.
And they certainly need his bat in the lineup, as they've produced almost no offense in this series so far. Well, if they are going to run with Cabrera, they're going to run here. Perfect pitch. You can't get a pitch out, or very rarely get one on 2-1. Matsuzaka has kind of combated running by not going to first at all. So Cabrera doesn't know his move.
And Anderson pulls that to right for a hit. Cabrera will turn. He'll dig for third. J.D. Drew's throw is cut. So Anderson delivers. And the Angels have first and third in the first inning with 2 down.
The Angels led the American League in going from first to third on base hits. They did it 122 times. And as you can see, that slider got a little too much of the plate. Anderson, apparently with his good eye and a half, able to take it into right field, and no doubt about this one, as Cabrera easily slides into third. So runners at the corners. There are 2 outs. And his tourist this year has been almost unbelievable with runners in scoring position. He's hitting .406 in that type of situation.
So a switch hitting third baseman, not a likely candidate to be the number 5 hitter, gets his chance in the first inning. But his tourists earned that spot through what Steve just mentioned. And Mike Scioscia told us that every time they broke down all their hitting numbers, this guy's performance jumped off the page at them.
Well, they were taking a look at the bottom part of the order, and they were looking at what would happen if they pitched around Anderson. And eventually they pitched around him enough, and his tourists made him pay enough that he took up permanent residence in the number 5 spot.
Cabrera at third, Anderson at first. Now this year, with 2 outs, there you see that's the overall number. With 2 outs, a much tougher spot and runners in scoring position, he hit .340. That's an outstanding number.
This is the 27th pitch of the inning. So the Angels have made Matsuzaka work here in the first. And those numbers, Ted, you were talking about, is indicative of a guy that will make some contact. Very rarely will his tourist overswing. He can hit the ball out of the park, but he's long from a power hitter. He just tries to put the bat on the ball and use his speed.
Cabrera bluffing down the line at third is Matsuzaka. 1-2.
When they went over the tapes of Matsuzaka, they were watching the split finger and how it moved away to the left-hand hitters. And that was exactly how he tried to get his tourist on the last pitch.
Well, the Angels looking for their first big hit of this series. Escobar spoils one.
Well, this is where you want to make it happen. It's 2-2, and the reason why is Escobar has very good speed. Anderson has fair speed. So if they go to 3-2, it'll take away the force at second base. And he might be able to get a run home on an infield hit.
Cabrera at third, Anderson at first. You saw Casey Kochman. He'll hit next if his tourist keeps the inning going. His tourist lays off, so it's a full count.
Now you'll most likely see Kevin Youkilis move behind Anderson to first base to get a little better angle over there on the right side. As that's been the signal from the Red Sox dugout.
Youkilis drops back. Anderson will be running. 3-2. Breaking ball got him. The Angels threaten, but Matsuzaka freezes his tourist on a breaking ball. Game 2, Angels and Red Sox at Fenway Park on a beautiful night. And Manny Ramirez and David Ortiz preparing for their shot tonight at Kelvin Escobar. The Red Sox batting order: Dustin Pedroia, the rookie second baseman, leads off. Kevin Youkilis homered in game 1. So did Ortiz. Manny Ramirez, the cleanup hitter. Mike Lowell, then J.D. Drew, Jason Varitek, Coco Crisp, and Julio Lugo. The bottom 3, 7, 8, 9 in this lineup have all done well in their career against Escobar. Something to watch tonight. So after the Angels made Matsuzaka throw 31 pitches, they don't score. And now they hope that Escobar has it together as he delivers strike 1 to Pedroia.
Escobar can be overpowering, as you can see, won 18 games. Lackey won 1 more, but a lot of people will tell you that Escobar all season long was a little more consistent. Take a look at the scouting report. He can top out that fastball at 95, has an excellent splitter, and his straight change is becoming one of his best pitches.
31-year-old native of Venezuela, Pedroia chopping one. It's gloved by Asturias. And so Pedroia, who was hitless in 4 at-bats in his postseason debut in game 1, is retired here.
The key to the good changeup for Escobar and the splitter is that they all come out of the same arm slot, so the hitter can't read a fastball or the changeup or the splitter. And you move the changeup back in your hand, you use the same arm velocity and the same arm release, and the ball just doesn't get there.
Now Kevin Youkilis, who had his first postseason hit, first inning Wednesday night, a home run, takes strike 1 here. Youkilis got hit by a pitch on his wrist in September 15. He was out 10 days, and there was concern as to how ready he might be for this beginning of the postseason. Looked pretty ready.
Well, Youkilis said that it wasn't without soreness, but it wasn't sore enough to keep him out of the postseason.
Youkilis always a patient hitter and gets his stance as far back in the right-hand batter's box. There's always one hitter that early in the game will erase the back line of the batter's box. You can see the right-hand batter's box, it's already gone. Just a little remnant of it there on the inside corner. Two-two.
Well, Escobar throws from the extreme first base side of the rubber. Figures it gives him a much better angle to the right-hand hitters. That's where he feels comfortable. Every pitcher uses a different spot. You can see where Escobar sets up. And when his splitter is right, you just have no chance with it.
On the velocity, they're 98, but it's ball 3. Poppy waiting. Boy, is that a Euclid at bat? No fear of being behind in the count, 0-2, and calmly works his way to a walk.
Well, you've got to throw him strikes because he's not going to swing at anything out of the zone. And Wednesday night, with a 1-0 lead, John Lackey rolled a breaking ball, and Big Poppy rolled it on out of there, making the lead 3-0. And for Josh Beckett, he only needed 1. He wound up getting 4.
So Ortiz, who had a fabulous month of September, kept it going with the home run in the 3rd inning Wednesday night. His 9th career postseason home run ties him with Jason Varitek for the most in Red Sox history. As Ortiz fouls it away, the man on deck, Manny Ramirez, by comparison, 20 career postseason home runs.
Well, David Ortiz has never had much luck with Kelvin Escobar, and that's been somewhat surprising. He's only hit 167 against him. Just 4 hits. 1 of them left the ballpark. He's driven in 3. If you can hold down Ortiz and Ramirez, and that's essentially what Escobar has done, you usually have a pretty good shot against the Red Sox.
Ortiz takes 1 ball, 1 strike.
Now they've got the shift on him, so they have the 3 infielders on the right side. Only his Torres is on the left side. Plenty of room for Ortiz if he wants to slap it right back through the middle. You see the defense and how they line up.
He hit against the shift in the 1st inning Wednesday. And a base hit to the left of second base. 1-2.
And that's the splitter, and that's probably the reason why David Ortiz has so many problems. And watch it again. It's out of the zone. And to the hitter, you see just kind of spinning the opposite way. Ortiz reads it as a fastball. The ball just dips away, and he missed it by plenty.
And there's another one to the left of second. So in the first 2 games of this series, Ortiz in his first at-bat has been willing to go the other way and delivers a hit. The Angels defensively tonight, Sean Figgins makes his first start of 2007 in center field with Guerrero back and right. Cabrera, a Gold Glove shortstop who's played that caliber of defense this year, according to the Angels. And Jeff Mathis, the starting catcher, he works very well and usually is the catcher for Escobar.
Mathis has picked off 7 base runners this year, 6 at first base, 1 at second. He particularly loves to go behind the left-hand hitter, so although Manny Ramirez a right-hand hitter, Ortiz has to watch his secondary lead at first base, or Kochman will go behind him and they'll try to pick him off.
Well, there's the season numbers for Ramirez. He bats here with 2 on and 1 out. Escobar was terrific this year in stopping the home run. He only gave up 11, and Ramirez has only hit 1 in 34 at-bats against Escobar.
Well, the Red Sox are more than just a slugging team, and they're going to run every chance they get on the Angel outfield, especially on Guerrero and right, who's had some tendonitis in his elbow. I'm sure they want to test it out to see if it's healthy.
1 ball, 1 strike. Guerrero is really shading the right field corner, Steve.
Well, it pretty much shows you that when Escobar goes to the fastball, he wants to keep it away from Manny.
I mean, that looks extreme, doesn't it?
Tremendous amount of room in right center field.
Look what Vladimir's playing. And of course, these teams, and nothing that you see in postseason baseball is without reason, as teams that know, as both of these teams did, that they were going to postseason, they both spent about 10 days having scouts personally watching each of their potential opponents.
Well, multiple scouts, and they took approximately 5 hours going over the advanced scouting report, and this is what the defensive charts read in the Ramirez-Escobar matchup.
Youkilis and Ortiz, the runners, staying away, and it's 2-2. Gary Sutherland, who's the head of pro scouting for the Angels, was the man that was responsible for coordinating their scouting efforts. Dana Levangie, Dave Howard did it so for the Red Sox, and they are really, those are the unsung heroes of successful teams. Mike Lowell waiting. Ramirez got a piece.
A lot of people probably wondering just exactly what an advanced scout can do and how would it be different than what he did during the regular season. Well, number one, you want to know which of the hitters are hot, if someone has adopted a different batting style, which guys run on which particular counts, will they squeeze with anybody in the lineup, and how the outfielders throw going each way.
2-2 now to Ramirez. Center field, Figgins frozen for a moment, but breaks back and plays it nicely. So there's 2 down and the runners hold.
And there's a perfect example of how it works into the defensive charts, because Figgins was around to right center field. That ball literally was hit right at him. Take a look at it. You see exactly where it's hit. He takes a couple of steps back. And it's one thing to defend the other team. It's another thing to have the pitcher execute, so you're pitching into the defense, and that time it worked perfect.
That's the magic half of the equation, isn't it, Stoney, to have a pitcher that can pitch to his defense?
Well, Escobar has good enough control, and you're right. If he doesn't pitch to the defense, you wind up with doubles in the corners.
So Mike Lowell with 2 down. And by the way, Figgins, we mentioned this is the first game that he has started in center field all year for the Angels, but he has played a good amount of center field in the past. He started over 90 games in center field for Mike Scioscia last year.
Mike Lowell has been the constant run producer, 120 of them this year, because he discovered right and center field. In years past, Lowell was known as a dead pull hitter. If he kept the ball away, he would roll over the top and either fly out to left field or hit a ground ball to the left side. But this year, Dave Magadan, the hitting coach, has explained to him, look, they're going to try to stay away from you. That's not a pitch you want to pull. In the first game of the series, he took one right back up the middle, drove home a run, and it looks like Escobar, at least early in this one, wants to stay away from it. And there's a look at Dave Magadan.
Up high to Lowell, 3-0. So the Red Sox are doing to Escobar almost what the Angels did to Matsuzaka in the top half of the inning. They're making him work and running up pitches. Matsuzaka through 31, 22 so far here.
I would expect a 3-0 green light for Lowell, especially if he got one middle in. Now there's an example of a pitch that was a pitcher's pitch. That ball was on the outer third of the plate. Even if you do get the green light, if it's not where you're looking, if you're not going to zone hit and pick out a spot where you want the ball, just take it. You still have 2 others to work with.
Angels infield back all the way around. And Lowell draws the second walk of the inning. So they're loaded with 2 outs for J.D. Drew. Mike Butcher, the pitching coach for the Angels, is going to make the trip to the mound.
One of the big problems, and there haven't been many for Escobar this year, has been focus. At times he will just lose his concentration. That's why Mike Butcher is out there. Mike Scioscia sent him out specifically to say, look, forget about the bases loaded. Those guys you can't do anything about. He's going to remind him of the scouting report on J.D. Drew. He's going to get his concentration back where it has to be and hope that he can extricate himself from this inning and keep it no score as they head into the second.
So J.D. Drew, who had a very disappointing first year in Boston overall. He did, though, have a very good September. And he hits here with the bases loaded. Youkilis, Ortiz, and Lowell, the runners, and 2 out. Drew in game 1 was 1 for 3. Now, he had spent his entire career until this year in the National League, so he's only had 5 at-bats against Escobar. Up the middle, and J.D. Drew delivers. They're going to wave Big Papi home behind Youkilis, and he will score 2-0 Red Sox.
The one thing you cannot afford to do is walk these Red Sox. They've got too much thunder in their lineup. The lineup is relentless. You never get a breath. And J.D. Drew takes it right back up the middle. That ball was up in the zone. I told you they're going to run all the way around on the outfield of the Angels. And just like that, the Red Sox, who have a 1-game lead in the series, lead 2-0 here in the first.
The thing the Angels couldn't get in the top half, J.D. Drew delivers the 2-out hit.
That's kind of been the theme of the series. And Boston has been an awfully good home team this year. Not quite as good as the Angels have been at home, but still pretty good.
So Jason Varitek takes a strike. This is the bottom 3 we mentioned in terms of history. The bottom 3, 7, 8, 9. These guys have all had success with Escobar. Varitek 7 out of 22. The 318 average. He's got 2 on here and 2 out. Escobar, the Angels sat him down the last 2 weeks with that questionable shoulder. Then they pitched him in Oakland last Saturday, and he gave them 6 very good innings, only 1 run. And that led Mike Scioscia and staff to believe that Escobar was fine and good to go here in game 2. And again, you look at the gun readings. 98, hit that a couple of times.
Well, there's certainly been enough on the fastball, but it's been location. It could very well be many times a pitcher is going to compensate for not feeling quite 100% by trying to throw harder. You usually don't get hitters out that way. You get hitters out by taking something off as opposed to trying to put something on.
Varitek caught by Kendrick, and that ends the inning. But the Red Sox, for the 2nd game in a row, strike in the 1st inning.
Honey, look at this.
Is it for all of us?
Yeah. $1,600 for a week. But we can do that.
Oh, yeah.
The magic begins when you realize you can afford a Disney vacation. Other affordable packages all year long. Visit disneyworld.com/affordable.
Heartburn hurts. For strong lasting relief, take maximum strength Zantac 150. 1 pill knocks out the pain, all day or all night. Heartburn? Attack it. Zantac.
Pizza?
For here to go?
Delivery.
Louis!
They get a little captain in them because they always designate a driver.
Drink responsibly.
That's the thing about risk. He never sleeps. For auto, home, or business, make sure your insurance keeps up. Travelers.
I chose UMA because I didn't want to move.
I couldn't move.
I didn't need to move.
To find great professional programs.
The attention I wanted.
And the financial aid
I needed.
With campuses in Augusta and Bangor and centers across the state, you're never far from a UMA classroom, a new career, and a new start.
I go full-time.
Part-time. I recommend UMA.
All the time.
The University of Maine at Augusta.
Stay close.
Go far.
The Bangor Symphony Orchestra opens its 112th season, 3 p.m. Sunday, October 7th at the Bangor Auditorium with a salute to Billy Miller, who first performed with the BSO in October 1957. Tickets at the Bangor Auditorium, 947-5555. More information on concert coaches and senior and youth discounts online at bangorsymphony.com. Tickets at the Bangor Auditorium, 947-5555.
Can an odor-free cream stand up to your back pain?
You bet if it's Asper Cream.
Asper Cream is clinically proven to knock out the pain with the maximum strength formula that's odor-free. Arthritis pain stopped?
You bet if it's Asper Cream.
Arthritis pain's debilitating, and it really hurt when I couldn't play Rocky's favorite game. Then my doctor recommended Capsaicin.
Capsaicin works differently, blocking pain for fast-lasting relief. Capsaicin Cream and new no-mess applicator.
Takes the pain out of arthritis.
Oh, did Lily wear the new Crocs to school as predicted?
Yeah, she wore the bright red Mary Jane Crocs.
Oh, you know, I totally agree with you about Chris Brown's new video. Nowhere near as interesting as the one from Gimme That, and does look good in the suit.
You know, you've gotten a lot cooler since you started reading my blog.
Get involved in what your kids are doing online. You might even like it. For more information, go to pointsmartclicksafe.org.
Be a run producer, and that's all you're looking for. He said if he can drive in 110, I don't care if he hits 12 to 15 home runs, and he believes that Kochman is that good a player that eventually he'll be that kind of run producer.
Son of a good baseball man. His dad's a minor league manager in the Angels system and a scout. Up in Florida. 1 ball and 2 strikes now to Kochman.
Well, they thought they had their corners of the future. Dallas McPherson was supposed to play third and Kochman at first. McPherson was the guy that would hit 40 home runs in the minor leagues, but ran into tremendous back problems. That was a huge loss to the Angel organization.
Now 1-2 inside. Of course, this organization, especially under Artie Moreno's ownership, has developed young players, and they've got their next third baseman, Brandon Wood, is regarded as one of the best young prospects in the game.
Well, I think they're going to have to find some power somewhere. Speed is a good thing to have because it never slumps, as they say, but you have to have some people to hit the ball out of the ballpark, and Vladdy isn't getting any younger.
Now Kochman takes it to 3-2, so Matsuzaka's command has not been as sharp as he'd like, with Morales behind him. Now, Matsuzaka did get out of the first inning with a great 3-2 curveball to freeze Myceri Asturias.
Well, a couple of major league scouts that were talking about Daisuke said that he is a power nibbler, that he'll get ahead and then he'll just throw 95 just off the corner and hope you swing at it.
That's a good phrase. I've never heard that. A power nibbler.
Yeah, usually you don't see it from power pitchers.
Yes. Well, there's Kochman doing what Youkilis did to start the Red Sox in the bottom of the first, working on a walk from behind in the count.
Now, between innings, Orlando Cabrera is kind of the leader of this team, and he leans over and he says to Kelvin Escobar, look, you can't be afraid of these hitters. You got to go right at them. You've got to challenge these guys. You get behind them, they'll kill you. Throw strike one. It's the most important pitch to throw, and just go at him. And it looked to me like Escobar was a little tentative in the first inning, and there's a guy whose baseball acumen is off the charts. Orlando Cabrera is one of the leaders of this team and has been since he got there.
So now the Angels, Kendry Morales. He appeared as a pinch hitter. Was called out on strikes facing Beckett on Wednesday night. This is a young man. You talk about a buildup. He was a teenage phenom in his home country, Cuba. A star player as a teenager at every level, and eventually at age 19 for the Cuban national team. He defected. Ended up going through the Dominican Republic to become a free agent. The Angels made a significant long-term investment to tie him up. He's only 24 years old, and they really feel a switch hitter with the ability to hit for power from both sides.
Well, Mickey Hatcher closed up his stance. It used to be wide open, and now by closing it up, he's able to drive the ball to left and left center field.
That's foul.
And that call was by Dan Iasonia, because that ball was not by the bag. And although Euclid was in fair territory, it's where the ball is. And as you can see, the ball is clearly foul.
You talk about the loss of McPherson to injury for the Angels. Another loss this year. They, during the winter, signed a veteran, Shea Hillenbrand. And he was their designated hitter at the beginning of the year. But Hillenbrand really did not produce very much, or at least certainly not what they hoped. And at the All-Star break, they released him. The Angels lost Juan Rivera, who had been a big hitter for them last year in the offseason to injury. Now Rivera's back. He played September, and he's on the roster here for the postseason.
And he was an option tonight. You look at Gary Matthews, that's one of the huge losses, because yes, he hit 18 home runs, and yes, he drove in some runs, but what he can do in the outfield makes the whole team better defensively. He can get him alley to alley, probably as good as any center fielder in the game, but he came down awkwardly chasing down a ball in center field and came up with a knee injury, patellar tendonitis, and he's on the shelf at least for the first round.
On the ground off Pedroia. And Kochman had stopped, but now he'll turn it back on and get to third. So the Angels get a break, and now the first issue for the Red Sox is Pedroia. Immediately they come racing out of the dugout and take a look at the rookie second baseman.
Well, we'll watch it. It looked like he landed awkwardly. This ball takes a strange hop, and Pedroia kind of gets stuck, and you see him roll over. Looks like it's the left shoulder, and that would be a huge loss. He's a Rookie of the Year candidate. Most likely he will be the Rookie of the Year. And they're taking a look to see if it's just a stinger or if there's something wrong. He's a tough kid, and I would assume that they would have to yank him out of here with a tractor.
Terry Francona told us Pedroia plays with a chip on his shoulder because he has to. I love that.
Well, when you're his size, and when you have a lot of people during the course of your career telling you what you can't do, you eventually overachieve. And I think you'd have to say that Pedroia, who came out of Arizona State as a shortstop, has a tremendous advantage of having a tremendous arm. And now he plays second and has gotten a whole lot better at turning double plays. Fortunately, he's okay. The inning continues, but runners at the corners and nobody out, and Matsuzaka in trouble.
So that's a base hit for Kendry Morales. Kochman at third, Morales at first, and Howie Kendrick, who is regarded as one of the best pure hitters around, gets a chance here to get the Angels back in this series.
Well, if you're Kochman at third base, what you're looking for, because you know that Matsuzaka throws a lot of fork balls, is you're getting that good secondary lead. You can come down the line exactly the distance that Lowell is away from you, and you want your momentum going forward in case something's in the dirt.
And Matsuzaka gets ahead of Kendrick 0-2. A player that Mike Scioscia said, and he's only 24, he said he can be a dominant offensive player. That's how good a pure hitter. Jeff Mathis, the catcher, will be next. Whereas here, if he just puts a ball in play in the infield, they'll get a run. The Red Sox will trade a run here for a chance to turn two. And Kendrick goes down on 3 pitches.
That was a good hard slider by Matsuzaka. This one well out of the zone. He got ahead and just wiped him out. You see the good tight slider. Howie Kendrick well out in front of it, trying to protect, and no contact. And this is where Morales has got to get a little better lead than he's getting at first base. Because now a ground ball in the infield, if you can break up 2, you can get a run. And he's not taking any kind of lead at first.
Jeff Mathis, the batter. I've always felt, Stephen, tell me what you think, that last at bat is one of the real measures of a hitter, to deliver a man from third with less than 2 men out.
And to shorten your swing when you need contact. Because with the infield playing where they were playing, even a little deeper than double play depth, they're giving you the run if you can just hit the ball on the ground.
And the Angels, who did such a great job all year long of producing runs by using outs, and that was an example of a great chance where they had to do that just to get a run, even if it was 2 outs, and they didn't get it.
The Angels led the major leagues in sacrifice flies, and they can use another one here.
Mathis takes a ball, 2-1.
Mathis is not quite the hitter that Napoli is. He started the first game. You don't lose anything defensively, but you lose a little bit of power. Best arm in the outfield, by far J.D. Drew in right field.
There goes Morales. So the Angels put him in motion, and Mathis fouls it back.
Well, that's an effort by Mike Scioscia to make something happen, because Mathis was looking at right field all the way. And as it turned out, Pedroia was covering, and the entire right side was vacated. Make any contact at all, and that ball scoots into right field, and the Angels have their first run of the series. As it is with a 2-2 count, you can pretty much count on a good hard slider low and out of the zone. And we'll see if Mathis can hold up.
So it's 3-2. Here's a little bit of that nibbling you talked about.
Well, that was a slider. It was at 88, but he couldn't get it where he wanted it. We saw Veritek wanting it low and away. Matsuzaka hung it. And now it'll be interesting to see if they do indeed run with Morales to try to stay out of the double play.
4th time, a 3-ball count. Mathis puts it in play to third. Morales runs, and that'll get the Angels a run. So the Angels score their first run of this series, and they do it utilizing their style of baseball.
You have to make sure that the pitcher delivers, and that's exactly what happened. Morales was running. There was no play at second base for Lowell. The Gold Glover gets it across, and they cut the lead in half. So Mike Scioscia, putting the runner in motion, gets the Angels their first run.
That's a big pickup after what could have been a demoralizing strikeout for the first out. Now Figgins, who struck out in the first inning, and no swing. It's ball 1 as you look down on Fenway Park in Boston on a gorgeous October night. We're in the 70s for the temperature of Game 2 of this American League Division Series. The Angels threatened in the top of the first, did not score. The Red Sox got 2 in the bottom half on a 2-run single from J.D. Drew. And now the Angels have put 1 up against Matsuzaka here in the top of the second.
Matsuzaka already at 53 pitches. So if anybody out there thought that he was going much past 6, I would think you can forget about that one, even with the off day tomorrow.
Figgins is going to bend back and shot a quick glance at Dan Iasonia. 2 balls, 1 strike. And the reaction that you hear here at Fenway Park now is that you don't think it takes long to find out in Boston that the Yankees just lost?
They lost to go down 2-0 to the Cleveland Indians, heading back to New York. That one in extra innings.
That's the reaction. The Indians 2, the Yankees 1 in 11 innings. 2-0 Cleveland. And Figgins flares one to left field for a hit. Morales rounds third. He will score. Figgins is running, and he'll stop at second as the ball scooted by Ramirez. And Sean Figgins delivers the 2-out hit the Angels have been looking for.
Well, this looked like it was going to be a single, and Manny Ramirez played it into a double. The ball slicing down the line. Ramirez just overruns it. The run would have scored anyway, but Figgins would have wound up at first base. So with the pitches piling up on Matsuzaka, the Angels have tied it here in the second.
And that will be scored. Ramirez never touched the ball, so the scoring is a double for Figgins. And now Orlando Cabrera, let's try to see if he can make the Red Sox pay for that misplay by Ramirez. Cabrera drives this to left. Ramirez going back into the gap in left center, and that's going to be at the base of the scoreboard. In to score Figgins. Cabrera with an RBI double, and the Angels have their first lead of this series. Well, the little jolt they took by not scoring in the first inning, Stoney, they've more than made up for here in the second.
Well, Cabrera, who had that heated conversation with Escobar, not only talking the talk, but walking the walk as he one-hops the wall. Angels have put 3 on the board. The inning continues, and the pitches have almost approached 60 for Matsuzaka, and you can see the fans here in Boston reacting to the 2-1 score coming out of Cleveland.
It's a momentary salve for them after the wound of seeing the Angels score 3 runs here. Cabrera was always a very effective hitter, and he was the kind of hitter, Steve, you were talking about with when Kochman was batting. He's not a power hitter, but he's a run producer. He drove in 86 runs batting second this year. There's Vladdy with a swing and a miss.
Well, Cabrera's manned the 2 spot for the Angels, but he used to hit number 3 for the Expos.
All right, Chip and Tony and Bob, thank you very much, and we welcome all of you now to Fenway Park in Boston, where this ain't game 1 anymore. A totally different start to game 2. The Angels have just scored 3 runs here, still batting with Vladimir Guerrero at the plate in the second inning. And Guerrero with a ground ball to Dustin Pedroia will make the play on. But the Angels scored 3 runs, 2 of them on 2-out hits on Daisuke Matsuzaka.